Yo, what's going on, snipers, and welcome back to our Albuquerque Aliens Draft Order franchise mode here in NHL 25. So last episode, if you did not catch it, we ended up having another offseason, and we had a pretty solid draft for our team, which is going to hopefully set us up for obviously future success when we start to lose some players from our roster again, because we did lose a lot of players in last episode in the offseason. That was probably the most players we lost from our roster, but the good thing about our roster is we do have the replacement type of players already into our lineup, so our lineup is actually looking pretty solid going into this upcoming season. As you can see, obviously still with this incredible top line of Kolarz, Ristolainen, and Stelbitz. This line, I think they've been together pretty much for the most part of their entire careers, which is awesome, and obviously they're all playing really good at this point in their careers. Our second line is Kim, Peterson, and Hennessy, so Hennessy's getting a big shot in the top 6 this year. He is a right winger, but he does shoot left, so I decided to put him on the left side on the top 6 just because I feel like he would be a little bit and complain about ice time because he's listed as a second liner. He is going to be a pending UFA at the end of the season. I don't know if he will come back to the team next season. Probably not, but at least he's a decent filler player right now for the team. Third line, we have Delisle, we have Cashman, and Doig. I kind of like this third line. Delisle and Cashman have been kind of underrated players in this series the last few years, and Doig's been a nice little grinder addition. He played his first NHL season just last year, so hopefully he can kind of build off his rookie season. And then we have a fourth line, which is also a little bit more aggressive with Evan Patrick, who's going to be jumping to our NHL team potentially. And there is a chance he could get sent down at any point, but he is an enforcer, so we do have somebody other than Doig that also could punch some faces. So a little bit more of a physical team than it has been in the past. We also do have Heatley still down there, and also Philip Milosh. From a defensive standpoint, it's Bell in Mahalik, Narena, and Tulipov, and now we have young DeAndre Hunwick making the NHL, and we also still have Jordan Lee. So you can see this defensive core is a little bit different, obviously, because we did lose Hurd. We also lost, who else was it? Whitfield. Yeah, so Hurd and Whitfield are the big two on defense that we let go of. So our defense is a little bit, I'd say, weaker than it has been in the past, but if we get some good growth from Hunwick throughout the season, this guy could be a top 4 defenseman by the end of the year, and then maybe our defensive core is even stronger than it has been in the past. And then from a goaltending perspective, it's still Gianta and Harakala. This might be Harakala's last season here, as we do have some goalies in the minors, as you can see with Mathers getting relatively close to the NHL. So it's an interesting looking team. There's our depth options as well, Ackerston, Bure, and Lambert. So I hope this team could have a good season ahead. I think we are definitely going to make it back to the playoffs again, but I'm really not too sure on how long of a playoff run this team's going to have. I think we're definitely really solid on the forward side of things. Defense is a little bit up in the air. Like I said, Hunwick could get some good growth this year. Lee could go back up to his 79 overall. And then our defensive core looks not too bad. And then from a goalie perspective, I think we're pretty solid. So I definitely think we could have another really good regular season simulation, but once we get to the playoffs, obviously it's always up in the air if we're going to actually end up winning or not. Depends if we're healthy, if the chemistry is doing well, all those type of things. But anyways, before we get into simulating another regular season, let's get in your guys' comments and see what you guys have to say about last episode, and then we'll find out where our former players signed in free agency, because we did not do that in last episode, because I wanted to keep that to the start of this episode, so we'll do that. And then we will obviously get into probably simulating at that point in time. So the first comment is from Dipshow, who says 71 medium elite in the 3rd round. God damn. And yes, sir, that was a pretty crazy pick, because when I drafted this guy, I saw that he was an exact medium elite, right? And I'm like, that seems like an interesting player. But the thing is, his attributes really didn't scream that intriguing to me. Well, he was already a 71 at 19 years old, and now he's jumped up to a 73 before the start of his rookie season in the AHL. So this guy, Eugene Dunham, is going to be a very exciting player. I don't even know how the heck we got him in the 3rd round, to be honest, because I feel like this guy could have been easily like a late 1st round pick, maybe early 2nd rounder, but he went all the way to the 3rd round. I feel like he was projected to go even later, which is also kind of insane, but yeah, this guy's going to be really good. Hopefully have a really good AHL season, and then easily by next season, if he plays good enough, gets a good enough amount of growth, he could easily replace somebody like Hennessy in our lineup next season. So at least it's a nice little pickup that basically gives us more solidity on that right-hand side of things. The next 2 comments are from Samaritaku. The first one says, Better Call Saul Young, and he's talking about, obviously, that TV show Better Call Saul, and the fact we drafted a guy named Saul Young. Unfortunately for the Saul Young, though, he is nothing really too special. He's a low 4. I don't really know if he'll end up making it, but yeah, he's a major project for sure. But it's kind of funny that he's referencing the TV show Better Call Saul. I never watched that show, but I've heard of it. The only shows that I tend to watch, in case any of you guys are actually wondering, is like Walking Dead related shows. I watch Dexter, I watch Criminal Minds. Those type of shows are like my favorite shows of all time. So that's what I tend to stick to. But got to get into some other TV shows. I also did watch like Brooklyn Nine-Nine and those kind of comedy shows, Good Place, stuff like that. But haven't gotten into anything else as of recent. Senator Otaku also says in a reply to Dipshow's comment that we mentioned earlier, with 85 defensive awareness and 83 offensive awareness out of the gate, he could become one of the franchise's Brandon Hagel's fantastic steals. So once again, referring to that 71 overall in Dunham. I totally agree that he's a fantastic steal. Like, the 85 defensive awareness out of the draft was insane. He's already up to 86 defensive awareness now and 84 offensive. So he is improving in both those areas, and he really doesn't have a set weakness. Like, his physical play is not the best, but you look at like his offensive attributes, they're all 77s pretty much. His passing's a 77. Like, he really is well built all around. So this guy could be definitely a very solid steal and a guy that gets into our lineup before the end of this franchise mode for sure. Next comment is from Michael Dos, who says, thought it was one of the better drafts in the past 5 to 7 seasons, and I tend to agree. I think it definitely was one of our better drafts, because if we even go to the unsigned guys, there is still a lot of players here from this draft class, of course, but you can see like Reefers, who is 18 as a top 6. We have Hansen as a low 6, who maybe could outgrow that potential. He was a gem apparently in the draft, so never know on that. We have Doughty, we have Lawson, so there is a lot of interesting players down there in the system. We don't have any goalie prospects anymore, but we definitely could add some in the next few drafts. But I don't know if it's going to be needed because the fact Gionta's still signed here long-term. Harakal is a pending RFA at the end of the year. We also do have Malkin as a high elite. We have Mathers as a medium elite. So we might be good with our goaltending for the rest of this franchise mode potentially. And the last NFL comment is from Ivan Johnson, version 1. I think that's part what it means, the V1. But he says, when my team loses, I check the shots by period. It tells me if my team is giving up a lot of shots from the slot. Means defense needs to be better if shots are from the outside and goals are going in. It means the goaltenders may be needing a change. It also gives an idea of pace of play. Just a suggestion, go Aliens, go. So that's a good idea, actually, is when we go to, when we're basically doing those in-game simulations in the playoffs, we should look at the shots after every first period and see which ones were ending up resulting in the goals. If the goals are from like outside of the slot, we know that maybe it's just the goaltenders that are just giving up some weak floaters from the point, slap shots from the point, something like that. But if they're in the slot, maybe the defense is getting pushed over and they're not battling hard enough in front of the net or something like that. So we definitely could do that when we get into the more into the playoff scenarios, because obviously we don't slow some late regular season games and that type of thing. So now that that is done, I think we need to find out where those former players of ours signed. I'm trying to remember everybody's name that we'd let go of, because I know we let go of Capaduca, we let go of Hurd, we let go of Whitfield. Trying to remember who else was on this roster last season that I would have let go of. I don't feel like there was any other super crazy player I let go of, right? I don't think so. So we'll look through those 3 players. If there's anybody that I'm forgetting completely, you guys can let me know and I'll find out in the next episode. But I honestly don't remember if there was anybody else other than those 3 guys. I know for sure it was definitely those 3 guys, but there's probably one other player that I'm just completely drawing a blank on that I'll randomly remember at some point in this episode, or I won't remember at all. So, Capaduca, where did you sign and how much money are you getting? You're going to Dallas. Okay, let me just remove my face so you guys can see the contract stuff and all that. But he has signed with the Dallas Stars as an 84 overall at 31. How much is he going to get paid? He is going to get $10.435 million. Damn, good for Capaduca. Getting over $10 million bucks. So, definitely not something I would bring in. Obviously, we do have cap space for that type of player, but he wasn't even needed anyways because we have a good enough forward group. But damn, $10 million bucks, and it's going to be for a 4-year deal. So shout out to Capaduca for securing the bag. And of course, he goes to sign with the Dallas Stars. So let's see what he looks like here. There's his contract now. So not too bad. It is a bit of a bad contract, though, considering he's a guy that's never picked up more than 57 points. He did come off a good season last year, a career high in goals, so there is a chance he could have a really good season this year. I don't know exactly where he's going to sell into the Dallas's lineup, but we definitely could take a look at Dallas's lines once we get to the start of the regular season to see where he's slotting into their teams. So shout out to Capaduca. He was great here for the time being, but obviously we had to let him go at some point. And then for Hurd, where did Hurd sign? Zach Hurd. This was a younger free agent because he was only 25. He signed with the Montreal Canadiens. So he's going off to Canada from Albuquerque. Only an 80 overall, medium top 4, 25. How much is he getting? 5.985. That's not too bad. We could have probably afforded to bring him back. But at the same time, with Hunwick getting ready for the NHL, I don't think it was worth it anyways. But he got a 5-year deal. A 5-year deal in Montreal. So that's a nice little contract for Zach Hurd. And he will be a Canadian for a number of years. Still young enough to jump into their defensive core and all that. Unfortunately, he didn't really pan out here too much. Like, he was good defensively, don't get me wrong. He had one really good offensive season, but I don't think he's worth the $5 million that he was trying to get. Like, I do like his defensive plus-minus from the last few years, but I don't think he's that great of a guy. Not that great of one. He could be a good guy, but maybe not a good player, you know? So, there is Hurd. And then Whitfield is the one I think that could get overpaid here because he did have a season where he had 50-plus points last year. And I was not expecting it, so I could definitely see him being one of the most overpaid players here. So he signed with the Ottawa Senators, which means he's going to be playing with Del Monte in Ottawa, so that's kind of cool. He's got the exact 7th D potential now, 80 overall, 30 years old. He will be getting paid a total of $10.675. I thought he was going to get overpaid. This is going to be an interesting one. If it works out for Ottawa and he wins the Norris Trophy, then so be it. But $10 million for an 80 overall defenseman is quite funny. But it was worth it for him in a sense because of what he did last season. But how many years? 5-year deal. Oof. I mean, he is a right D-man too, which is a premium. But damn. No clause in that contract, but 5 years at 10.675 is quite a bit of money. Quite a bit of money for him. So there is Andrew Whitfield. And the reason why he got paid this much is you can see the last 2 seasons he's been great offensively for not playing a full season. But it could definitely not be good results if he starts to drop off. Like, he's already 30. So if he's not getting that power play time in Ottawa and all that, I don't know if he's going to be able to do that well. Like, he could end up going back to his old 20-point days or less. So it's a bit of a gamble for Ottawa, but it's definitely one that could pay off in the thick of it. So that is that. Let's get to, I think, the start of the season already. I'm trying to think if there's anything I want to do before I start simuling. I don't think so. Who's a pending free agent at the end of this year again? Is there anybody that's big that needs a contract already? Not really. There is Narena, who's a pending UFA, but I think we'll be able to get him back no problem. Yeah, I think I'll wait on that. Healy's also pending UFA. Mallock's pending UFA. Lambert's pending UFA. I hope that we have the cap to get Narena back, because Narena is obviously a great offensive defenseman. He's been kind of one of the more underrated players in the series too. Like, he's been pretty good for when we drafted him, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, I think we're ready to get into this and start the season sims. So let's see how good this team does. I do actually want to take a look at the lines at the start of the season just to see where Capaduca, Hurd, and Whitfield fit into their new teams, but we'll do that in a little bit. So we got a conversation with our head coach. What does Alan got to say about our roster? We should be good enough to make the playoffs, I think. We will do a preseason focus thing for a second, just because I've been told this is a good thing to do. So let's go with let's focus on our conditioning, just because we're a little bit of an older team at this point, right? In our season goal, let's see what he thinks about our roster. He thinks we're good enough to compete for the Cup again this season, so we will see if we're good enough to get ourselves to that Stanley Cup Finals again this season. That'd be awesome if we could, because it would be nice to kind of have multiple Cups by the end of this franchise mode, but who knows if that will be the case or not. Alright, so how are we going to do in the preseason? Let's get through all this, and then, like I said, we'll take a look at the Dallas Stars lines, the Montreal Canadiens, in the Ottawa Senators, just to see where our new guys are fitting into their lines a little bit. Hopefully, I'd say hopefully they have good seasons, but obviously, like, we don't care too much, but I hope that they kind of make their teams a little bit better. And hopefully that we don't have to face them in the playoffs at any stretch. But 6-2 in the preseason, not really surprised. We did lose to Dallas in the last preseason game. I do want to see who was doing well in the preseason, just for fun too. I almost forgot about Spezza. Is that bad that I almost forgot about Spezza being a Carolina Hurricanes goaltender? I almost forgot that we had Trenton Spezza in the series completely. Like, Gianta's just, like, all of a sudden made me completely forget about Trenton Spezza. Goddamn. So salute to Spezza, the former goaltender of ours. But I did want to take a look at our player stats in the preseason just for fun. So yeah, Ristolainen, Stubwitz, Kolars, that top line should do really well again this season. They were almost all 2 points per game in the preseason. Rick Kim was doing well, Narayne was doing good. All right, good to see. And how about the goaltending? Not the best numbers, but they'll be probably better in the regular season, hopefully. So there's that. And let's simulate to the start of the regular season. And then I'll go to Dallas, Montreal, and Ottawa's lines so we can take a look at where Capaduca and all those guys are going to fit into their teams. Hopefully they get a good amount of ice time and they're not going to be like scratched or something, because that would be kind of annoying. So Dallas has Capaduca as their top line left winger, so that's actually kind of nice. So good chance for Capaduca this year. He gets to play with Wyatt Johnston and Joachim Kamel, so a little bit of older guys to play with, but he does get to go onto the top line there in Dallas. And he will also be on their first line power play, so that will be really interesting to see how good of a year Capaduca has. They might actually get a lot out of him because we've been using him as like a second/third line guy, but in Dallas he has a chance to be that number one guy, which is great for him. So shout out to Capaduca. And then if we head to Montreal, defense, Zach Hurd's getting top 2 minutes. Damn, okay. All right. Was not expecting that, but their defensive core is a little bit weak in Montreal, so he will get a big opportunity this year. Maybe he could have a good year and grow a little bit more, because he is still 25. But good on these guys for getting top line minutes on their teams. Is he getting like power play time too? No, not on the first line unit, not on second. So he's not getting any power play time in Montreal, but he's probably getting PK time. Yeah, he is. That makes sense. All right. And then if we head to Ottawa, Whitfield is kind of the interesting one. Is he going to get power play time in Ottawa or not? So there's Del Monte, our former player, if you guys didn't remember him. But where is Whitfield? Did they scratch Whitfield? Because if they scratch Whitfield after paying him $10 million, then that is kind of dumb. Yep, they scratched him. Oh my goodness. You're literally paying this guy $10 million to be a healthy scratch. That's the one I was a little bit worried on. Like, why aren't they playing him instead of Spencer Gill or this Hutton guy? That kind of is a little bit of something I do not like to see. That should be, like, Whitfield should definitely be playing in the lineup. Like, he doesn't need to be high as Yakimchuk and Sanderson, but at least in the top 4 or top 6, right? Because he should be like a defenseman that's running a power play unit potentially. Which is kind of weird that Sanderson and Yakimchuk aren't on the power play unit in the first one. They're both on the second unit, huh? But yeah, I definitely don't understand why Ottawa's not playing Whitfield after paying him that much money, but I'm not going to try and focus on the flaws of this game right now, just because or else I could be here for a while. So with that said, let's get into simulating some of the season. We won't simulate all of it on one chunk. We'll simulate 1 month at a time. We won't take a look at player stats till the end of the season, if we can, again, just because I kind of think it's a better surprise when we got to find out late in the season who's doing what. So should be pretty automatic, though, that we're a playoff team, but I'm just not too sure, obviously, like I said, how long we are going to be a playoff team for. Just depends on the injuries, the chemistry, that type of thing, how everything's simulating. And that's not a great start for the AHL in terms of injuries, as that medium elite that we were just talking about, Eugene Dunham, has been injured with an injured knee. He is out till the 27th, so not long term, but does suck for the kid to go down with an injury early into his AHL career, because I want him to be potentially on the NHL roster next season if he gets growth. And already Jordan Lee on our defensive core has been injured with an upper body injury out till November the 1st, so we'll replace Lee with our depth defenseman, but a couple injuries to start off the year is not great. There's a 4-0 shutout win, and now another injury in the AHL as Ariel Segal's been injured with a strained hamstring out till November the 7th. We're getting slapped with injuries in both the NHL and AHL here early on, but I guess I would rather take them early in the season than too late. So we got to take out DeVoe here. Dunham was playing defense, right, because of that injury to whoever was injured. Hey, why are you doing all this friggin' things? God damn it, I hate when the game does this. Okay, I'm going to have to wait till the other guy's back on defense, because Dunham, I can't take him out of the lineup because there's no scratches in the AHL. So for the time being, Unless there's a way to get him into where Defoe is. I could always go... Let me go back to the AHL for a second here. Let's go where Defoe is. Get Dunham in this spot. Change in all current lines. And then we will change Dunham here. And then get Defoe into the spot. And then I guess Defoe would also have to be... no, that seems fine. Okay. The rest of that should be good, I think. I think we actually may have fixed that problem. So I was a little bit of a glitched out play, but that's okay. Alright, let's get to continuing to simulate. We are on a little bit of a downwards trajectory as of late, but that's okay. 4-3-1. And Toronto is another loss. A little bit of a slow start to the season for this team. 4-4-1 in their first 9 games, but I know that this team still has a lot in them. They could definitely start picking it up. We do have a couple of injuries on the team, so maybe that's why. But a little bit of a slow start, that's all right. We could find ourselves out of nowhere, because I know this team is definitely not going to be a team that misses the playoffs this year. We're going to make the playoffs for sure. Just got to be healthy and not suffer any major injuries here. So we'll go back to getting Lee back into the lineup, because right now Ackerstrom is playing on that top 6 pairing. Ackerstrom's still not a bad depth defenseman, but obviously he's not super high overalls. Lee's back up to a 79 overall, which is exactly what I was hoping for. So that's actually really nice, because that makes our defensive core look a little bit more legit at the moment. So let's continue to simulate since he's back from injury. And Tulipov is fully healthy. He was already in the lineup, so that's good. Vegas is a 6-2 win. Florida's a 5-4 loss. Still a little bit of inconsistencies right now, but those consistencies hopefully find themselves soon. Dunham's already up to a 74. Damn, he's growing faster than expected. We'll take DeVoe out. Segal will come back in for the AHL. That is good. Perfect. Game against Nashville, 7-2 win. See, we're scoring a lot of goals in our wins, so I think it's eventually going to be like a nice 5+ game win streak here. Hey, maybe this is it. Yep, 4-game win streak. Is this going to be 5 in a row? And no, it's not, of course, after that. It is still a little bit of a slow start, but maybe we want to be a wildcard team rather than a President's Trophy winning team, right? So, anything could happen still. There's a lot of season left to go. And just something is not clicking as well on this team right now. Mahalik's now been injured with a sprained ankle out till December the 1st, so we'll go replace player, but that does suck that Mahalik's been injured again. Last season he missed a lot of time. He missed the entire playoffs, so does have a little bit of recipe to get injured quite a bit. There's a nice little winning streak to end off the month and points in our last 5 games. So we're going to be 13-7-3 at December the 1st. Comrie's now been injured in the AHL, sore knee. Let's go replace player, but man, a lot of injuries to start off the season. A lot of injuries. We are currently in second place behind the Blackhawks, who are 18-3-1 to lead the Central Division. So, yeah, I don't think we're going to be a team that wins the President's Trophy this year. I just feel like we're going to be one of those teams that maybe finish a little bit lower than we should, and then maybe we go far in the playoffs. So, let's continue to simulate. Let's go to the end of December. We don't have a ton of games in December, but let's see if we could... Oh boy, that's not what I want to see. Josiah Stowitz, I don't know when the last time he was injured was, but he has been injured with a sore knee out till the 15th. That's one thing that's a little bit worrisome, is our top line's getting older. So some of them might start to get a little bit more injured, and then also some of them might start dropping in overall. But that's not good for Stowitz. He's only out for half the month, but he's been a fantastic player the last few years, so this is a substantial loss to the forward group, as Mahalik has also ready to return from his injury. Lambert's getting top line time with Ristolainen and Kollars. He better do really well on that top line if he's going to get to play with those guys, right? So there you go. Mahalik's back. We could always move Rick Kim onto that top line, but to be honest, it doesn't really matter. It's only for like a few games. And I don't mind if those depth options get a lot of ice time and try to exceed their expectations a bit. Alright, we still have points in a lot of games straight, so that's good. Comrie's back for the AHL. But this has been a bit of an injury-riddled season by comparison to last year, I think. Like, last year we did have injuries, but not as much of them to different players. Like, right now it's been the NHL and the AHL. It hasn't just been the NHL or just the AHL. Alright, I need to stop the sim because I can't see what's happening here. Oh, there's another win here. Nice. We're doing really well, actually, as of late. Doing really, really well. Like, even our shootout loss at least is a point, so Definitely helping out with our playoff chances quite a bit this month, or the last month or so, I should say. So Stelwitz is back, which is good. Hopefully he doesn't get injured again this season. Let's continue to simulate, see where we finish off this month. I don't know what the heck's happening against that Boston game because it's not showing me to score in that game, but that's all right. There's a win over Utah. Montreal against Zach Hurd. We beat 8-4. God damn. Yeah, this team's all of a sudden on that cooking pace that I was hoping for. We're almost on 20 wins now. There it is, 20 wins. And Harakala has broken his foot as a backup goaltender, which is okay because that does give a chance to Mathers this season, but that's not good. I think Mathers would go through waivers if I had to send him down. No, he doesn't actually. So that's actually pretty nice because Mathers will get a big opportunity to play actually now. And then Langlois can play some games in the AHL for a little bit. So Reed Mathers is going to make his Aliens debut this season. That's a pretty substantial injury though for Harakala. But at least he's our backup goalie. He's not our starter. So Reed Mathers in for that. Malkin will be the starter in the AHL. Actually, it would probably be Langlois, but Langlois and Malkin can compete down there, which is good. And it is good to continue simulating. Hutton, I don't think was ever injured. I don't remember ever seeing a notification about that guy. And I need to stop the sim because it's kind of glitching out a little bit here. Let's go through this last game of December against Cappadocia. We win 7-1. Yeah, this team's on a very good last few games because we have not had a regulation loss since this Pittsburgh game, I think. Because there's a shootout lost and we went on a 4-5 game win streak. Lost in a shootout to Philadelphia. Then we went on a 1-2 game. Oh no, and there's one against Boston I almost forgot about because the sim engine wasn't showing it. But there was one loss that month in regulation. Afterwards, we didn't go on a nice little win streak. We've won now a total of 7 in a row to end off 2039. So this team is all of a sudden back to where it should be, which is winning a lot of games. I feel like I don't want to win a President's Trophy this year, but I don't know if I do or not because the Ducks last year won the Cup while winning the President's Trophy, right? So we could potentially win it this year and win the Stanley Cup like we did a few years ago. So 22-8-5. I think we got to continue simulating. I don't really want to take a look at any player stats right now. So I want to wait till the end of the season so we could get a big surprise potentially. Because who knows if there's a guy that's on pace for like 130 points again in this season. Last year, Stelwitz had 120 something. I think Ristolainen had 126. Like we had a lot of good scoring on that top line. So I'm expecting to have that type of results again this season. So there's 3 regulation losses this month, so our team is definitely not doing as strong here in January as they were in December. 4 regulation losses and a win. Harakala is back. I don't know if Mathers being in the NHL was the problem, but we did lose a lot more games that month. How did Mathers play out of curiosity? Hey, that's actually really good. His first NHL game, he only allowed 2 goals, had a .935 save percentage, so shout out to Reed Mathers, who could probably be the backup next season. Could probably be the backup. So we'll send down Mathers because Harakala is back. Let's go make sure we get those guys back in the right spot. But I do really like that first NHL game from Reed Mathers. That definitely shows me that we might not need to qualify Harakala this offseason. We could still if we want to have 3 goaltenders, but I don't know if that's the thing I really want to do. So we'll take Langlois out and Mathers will come back in. So now it's back to Mathers and Malkin in the AHL. And yeah, hopefully Harakala stays healthy for a little bit longer here this time. There's a win in overtime over Columbus. So 2 games in a row. Harakala is fully healthy. That's good. Seattle, shootout win. New York, 3-1 win. Pittsburgh, probably a win, right? 4-2 loss. Oh, that's right. That's fine. All right, so we're almost on 30 wins. We're 29, 13, and 6 at February the 1st. So, yeah, definitely at this rate, we are going to be a playoff team. We are currently 2nd place in our division. The Blackhawks are running away with it, though, 37, 8-4 in 49 games. All right, let's continue to simulate. We will obviously go to... I don't know if I'm going to look at the trades that happened at the deadline anymore. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to. I'm trying to think if I should. Because I kind of want to just get through the rest of the season as fast as possible. At the same time, so I'm not too sure. We do lose to the Blackhawks, who are winning the President's Trophy potentially this season. We lose to LA. We lose to the Islanders. So we are losing to more games this year, I feel like, than last year for sure. At this rate, which is not necessarily a great thing, but at the same time, maybe it is, though, because maybe we're going to be a team that looks like a cheese team that isn't actually a cheese team, and then we simulate way better in the postseason. I don't even really know what the problem is right now, but this team is definitely not as strong as last season. It's probably because we lost like Hurd and all that stuff. I do expect a little bit of regression with this roster, but I'm not too sure in which areas. Dallas Corrado's been injured in the AHL. Let's go replace player on that. But I think we definitely could still hit 50 wins this season or something like that. But our team definitely can't be losing like 3+ games in a row at this stage if we want to do that. But 35, 19, and 8, we do have a very busy month of March coming up here. We are currently second place in our division. The Blackhawks are already on 49 wins. God damn. I don't know if they're setting themselves up for a first-round exit or a Stanley Cup victory, but they've been crazy good this season. Like, there is a chance that they could win the most games in franchise history or NHL history, even for that matter, because they're all like, yeah, they're literally like 13 wins up on almost every single team in the league, which is kind of insane. So, shout out to the Blackhawks. I don't think I'm going to look at the trades that happen at the deadline this year, just because it might not be worth it, because it's probably all generated players at this stage. And I do want to get to the end of the season and take a look at the player stats once we actually get out of the screen and stuff like that. So, holy crap. Okay, wow. I did not expect to see that. You guys probably see what I see. Dunham, that friggin' third-round pick, is up to an 83 overall. What the hell, man? He is already ready to take Hennessy's job, and he hasn't even played a full season in the AHL. Holy crap. I did not expect that. God damn. I knew he was going to make the NHL soon, but not within a full season. Holy moly. 42 points. He's minus 17 in the minors. So the minors are having a tough time, but wow. He's a third-line checking forward already. Like, technically, I could send Patrick down if I wanted to, since he's the enforcer. Or use Patrick as scratch option. I might wait till the playoffs to call him up, but there is a chance we could call up Dunham this season for the playoffs. Or we just wait till next season, but the AHL's not doing super well down there. But wow. Was not expecting an 83 overall when I went to go edit those lines. God damn. So, shout out to Dunham. One of the best deals we probably ever had in this franchise mode, just because of the fact that he's grown so fast. Like, he went from literally getting drafted as a 71 overall in that round to an 83. Quite insane. Oh my goodness, I didn't want to take a look at this. Let me hide your second. I can't see anything. Ba-ba-doo, ba-ba-doo. Okay, there you go. I got it back to the calendar. Whew, I accidentally went back. And I didn't want to see any player stats, and I don't want you guys to see any player stats either. Ooh, that was a bit scary. Okay. Let's go to the day after the deadline here. We're 36, 19, and 8. Blackhawks are very close to hitting their 50th win already. And they still have like 19 games to go, which is insane. So they might hit 69 wins this year, potentially. Let's continue to simulate, because we're not going to take a look at the trades, just because it's probably pointless. It's probably a bunch of generated players at this point. Maybe some real players are still left, but not as much, obviously. Doig was never injured. Let's go continue on that. But, yeah, that's definitely something we need to ponder about for our playoff run, is if Dunham should come up or not, or we just let him play his first NHL season next year instead. So Kavasha's been injured in the AHL. That's a kind of a big blow to the defensive core, but let's go replace player. Tulipaw's been injured in our NHL team with a sore shoulder. He's out till the 29th, so he will be back for the playoffs at least, but that's kind of a substantial blow to our top 4. So let's go replace player, and hopefully we can still simulate good without Tulipaw in the lineup. But he will at least be back, like I said, for the postseason, because we should be almost locking in a playoff spot relatively soon at this rate. But I still can't get over that Dunham being an 83 already. Like, this guy was a third-round pick that we didn't even see really what his overall was going to be. And Hutton, for instance, the low-elite defenseman we drafted 33rd just over a couple years ago, is up to a 79 listed as a top 4. So we have some guys developing really well in the AHL, which is fantastic to see, because we've had some years where we've not gotten a lot of growth in the AHL. But we could have Hutton in the NHL. We could have Dunham in the NHL. Hutton could potentially replace somebody like as a depth option, potentially. but he doesn't fit our defensive core just yet. But he will probably be a guy that can fit into our defense to replace Ali in the offseason. So we do have some reinforcements coming, which is very, very exciting. So there's another... Oh my goodness. Sorry, I had to make a cut because my voice just tried to die on me. But we had 2 straight wins. And now Ackerstrom has been injured with an abdominal strain. So that's our depth defenseman getting injured till April the 2nd. Let's just go replace player that would put it forward in that spot for the time being. But it's not super long term that I should be okay with it. Because we are going to be a playoff team at this rate anyways. So game against Winnipeg is a 5-4 loss. Tuomainen in the AHL has been injured with an injured arm. I don't know what that means, but okay. And Tulipov is back for the NHL. A lot of defensive injuries this last month, which is kind of crazy. All right, so defense, we got to take Lambert out. Lambert was playing defense. Tulipov will come back into that spot. And Ackerstrom's currently injured as a depth defenseman. I could send Ackerstrom down potentially and call up that other defender for the playoffs, but I did really like the way Ackerstrom played defensively last year for us, as we just smoked Columbus 9-1. Goddamn. All right. So we're on to 45 wins. We probably have clinched a playoff spot at this rate, I would assume. Let's just check here in a second. Dwayne Sagan's been injured with injured groin in the AHL. Goddamn. AHL slapped with injuries. Yes, we have clinched a playoff spot with 99 points so far. The Blackhawks are 1 win away from 60 wins, and they look like they easily have the President's Trophy in the bag. So, is it a curse for them, or is it a good thing that for us that they win it instead of us? Because we had a good season, but obviously nothing close to what they've had. Like I said, I expected some regression this year, but the AHL's team's not going to be even in the playoffs, so do I even need to put these guys back in the lineup? Probably. I'll just make sure people are in the right spot. Hutton dropped back down to a 77 now all of a sudden, so I don't even know what the heck's going on in the AHL. DeVoe needs to come out, I think it is, for Sagan. Yeah, and who is also ready to come back? Nobody else. Okay, there is nobody else. All right, let's go with that, and boom, that's good to go. Game against the Rangers, 4-3 OT win. Pittsburgh is a 9-3 win. Goddamn, our offense is crazy good this season. I feel like there's going to be some really good stats when we get to our player stats. We also do beat the Blackhawks, so that's actually kind of nice, beating a 61-win team 5-2 late in the season. And our last 2 regular season games, LA and the Islanders, both on the road. First and foremost, the LA Kings, 3-2 win. Then we get to New York, where we win 6-3. So we end off the season on a little bit of a hot streak, which is not necessarily a good thing, but we win a total of 7 in a row, I think, to end off the season. And we finished 51, 22, and 9. So for the amount of players we let go of, I'm pretty impressed with that. But we finished, it looks like, as, I think, the 3rd best team in the league. Yeah, the 3rd best team. We did do better than the Ducks this season, though, which is interesting. All right, so now I'm going to hide everything from you guys, and I'm going to also close my eyes and make sure I'm not looking at player stats. And I'm going to obviously go over to that right now. Just want to make sure I'm not seeing who's leading us in points and all that. Boom, boom. Okay, good. There we go. So if we go to the entire league, we finished 3rd best in the entire league with 111 points, only behind the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Chicago Blackhawks. But that means we were the best, not Western Conference team, the best team, not even in our division, I guess, for that matter. So maybe we're in a good spot to win the Stanley Cup because of that. Because we didn't win our division, yet we were really good. We didn't win the the Western Conference. We didn't win the league. Maybe we're in a really good spot to potentially go far this year. I just realized there's still some other teams that haven't even finished. Toronto still has 1 more game left to go, so technically I should go back to the calendar, but for right now I'm not going to do that just because I don't want to spoil our player stats. But regardless, we're going to finish in this spot because there's nobody that could jump us. So we finished 3rd place in the league in terms of goals for per game. It looks like we were the best offensive team, and that probably won't get beat unless Toronto scores 9 goals or more in the last game of the season that they're playing. But 3.9 goals for per game, so offense did not fall off a cliff, which is good. Goals against per game, we were the 3rd best defensive team, which is nice. So yeah, locking in the 3rd place as the best defensive team. Philadelphia, number 2, and Chicago, number 1. Not surprised in Chicago. Power play percentage, 27%. So our power play and goals for per game has been hot the last 3 years or so. So that's really good to see. Penalty kill percentage 85.6, which is just outside of the top 10. So we had a pretty solid penalty kill, but it's not the best penalty kill by any stretch. 18 shorthanded goals though, which leads the league by 6 shorthanded goals. So we weren't the best penalty killing team, but we did score a lot of goals shorthanded away from the puck. So I'm incredibly interested to see how many shorthanded goals some guys had on our roster, because there's probably guys with like 4 more shorthanded goals this season based on that. 26, 13, and 2 on home ice, 25, 9, and 7 on the road, and we're 8 and 2 going into the postseason. So I would say a pretty successful season for this team for sure. And the leader in points was Ristolainen with 108, which means we probably have some pretty crazy depth scoring. If it was only 108 points, we probably don't have just a top line showing up. I would assume the second line with like Rick Kim and stuff did well as well, if I'm not mistaken. All right, let's take a look at these player stats, because I am very interested in all this, of course, as per usual. So let's see how our depth scoring was. So there is Ristolainen on 108 points, 45 goals, 63 assists, and a plus 45. Really good year for him. 15 game-winning goals. That's a lot of game-winning goals. Aside from that, 12 power play goals, 24 power play points, 5 short-handed goals, and 6 short-handed points for him. Really good year from Ristolainen. This guy's still incredible. This guy might be still my favorite player over Staubitz. I'm not really too sure, but he has been brilliant. 4 100-point seasons the last 5 years. And 5 shorthanded goals this year is really freaking crazy. So shout out to Ristolainen. Rick Kim on 70 points. Pretty solid year for Rick Kim. I don't think his contract ends till, next offseason. Peterson on 70 points. That's a pretty good year for Mauricio. We also have Cashman on 64 points. So Hector Cashman continues to be a pretty damn good bottom 6 option at $3.4 million. He is also okay with his ice time and all that. So use him as a power play guy and a third liner. It seems to work well. He's been a really solid player the last 4 years. So shout out to Hector Cashman. We also have Heatley on 24 points. He's a pending free agent. I don't know if he'll come back necessarily, but he's still a decent player for our team too. Left wing side of things, we have Kolars on 94 points, so pretty solid year there for Matej Kolars. We also have Delisle on 47 points, pretty solid, 17 goals, 30 assists. Malak on 22 points, and Lambert played 6 games on that top line, mostly when Staubitz was injured. 3 points in 6 games and a plus 5, not bad. Right wing side of things, there's Staubitz. He played 78 games, so he missed 4 games, but still had 106 points, 59 goals. For Josiah Staubitz. 15 power play goals, 8 game-winning goals. He had 4 shorthanded goals as well and 5 shorthanded points. Wow. So shout out to Josiah Staubitz, man. This guy is friggin' awesome as well. 3 straight 100-point seasons. He's been a crazy goal scorer the last, almost decade. And he's getting close to point per game as a player. So shout out to Josiah. We also have Hennessy on 62 points as a pending free agent, so I think there's a good chance Hennessy leaves and Dunham comes up to the NHL next season. So, as much as I do like Hennessy, I think he's going to try and want to get paid a lot of money, and at least we have a replacement for him already in the AHL. Doig on 27 points plus 17, that's pretty good. Patrick is the enforcer, did what enforcers do. 4 points only, but 109 penalty minutes. How many fights? How many fights? He only played 731 a game, and he had 14 fights, so he was sticking up for a lot of our younger guys, or not younger guys, or other guys out there. He might be the youngest player on the team, but he was sticking up for the old guys, basically. That's what it seems like. From a defensive standpoint, Norena 62 points and a plus 32. Pretty damn good year for Kai Norena. That might be a career high. Yeah, I think that's a career best season since his 59-point season and a plus 44. So I am a bit worried that Norena's going to ask for a lot of money this offseason. The thing is, he is getting closer to retirement, so we got to be a bit worried about that. But obviously, we should have the cap space to bring him back. Bell, 33 points plus 27. Tulipov, 32 points plus 15. Mahalik, 29 points plus 18. Lee, 19 points plus 24. Hunwick in his first season was good too. 15 points plus 28. And Ackerstrom played 10 games, had 2 points, was plus 12. Thomas Ackerstrom's a great depth defenseman. He's only played 25 career games, but he's a plus 19 in those 25 games. And then in the playoffs, he's a plus 8 through 11 games. So, This guy's really solid defensively. Or he just gets to play with good defenders. I'm not too sure. And then from a goaltending perspective, we had John a 912 save percentage. But look at Harikala, who's a pending RFA, a 921 save percentage as their backup. He's probably going to want more money for sure this offseason, which means we probably go with Mathers as our backup next year. But another good goaltending season. Maybe Gianta's up there for a Vezina. Probably not because of the lack of games or lack of wins or something, but never know. So let's take a look at some stats around the league, even though some teams are not done their seasons yet. We have Mike Robertson. Even though they still have one more game left, he is definitely going to be the Art Ross Trophy winner. You also have Bjorkstrand for Seattle, who's got one game left. He also could potentially win it if he has 5 or more points in the last game of the season. But then there's Prost up there for Anaheim. Ristolainen finished number 4, and Stelwitz finished number 6. Alright, so there is that. Goal scoring, it's going to be Bjorkstrand of Seattle. Larmour, number 2 for Utah, who's currently injured, apparently. Damn, that's a big loss for Utah. Very big loss. And then Robertson with 62 goals. Stelwitz finished number 4 in goals despite missing 4 games. Not bad at all. Let me take a look at shorthanded goals for fun. Yeah, Ristolainen was number 1 in shorthanded goals. And Peterson was number 1 in shorthanded points. God damn, I didn't even take a look at his stats. 2 shorthanded goals, but he's more of a playmaker. So 8 shorthanded points for him this season. Risto had 6. Stelwitz had 5. God damn. Shout out to our shorthanded unit. That's fantastic. In terms of Selke candidates, is there a chance we have another Selke this year? Actually, let's sort by face-off percentage here and look for the most face-offs taken here. Looks like maybe Jordan Cunning doesn't have a lot of takeaways, though. Ristolainen could be literally up there. He's one of the best face-off guys. There is a chance maybe he has another Selke in him this season. Also, all the short-handed points might help him, too. So, maybe another Selke trophy in the cabinet. And then from a defensive standpoint, Yves Bissonnette, 85 points for the Jets. Looks like he's going to win the Norris this year. And then look who's number 2. Mr. Tuzzolino in Florida, 77 points. Shout out to Tuzzolino. Norena would finish top 5 in defensive points, which is pretty awesome, though. So shout out to him, too. In terms of goaltenders, best for wins, Mitchell, all to the Blackhawks. Most shutouts, 7 from Erskine and Dmitriev, Philadelphia and Montreal. Best save percentage by a starter is going to be Kazanov in St. Louis again. So Kazanov could have another Vezina in his bag. This guy's been very good in terms of goaltending. And best goals against average by a starter is probably Kazanov. I think Kazanov might literally have his 3rd Vezina, which I don't think I've ever seen a goaltender win that many Vezinas. So shout out to that guy. Any goalie goals this season? No. Most assists, Vignetti, Robertson, Shattenkirk, Ortiz, and Dmitriev. All right. Best rookie this season, Landon Gordon of the Carolina Hurricanes. What a rookie season. 79 points. He does have one more game left, but he's literally a guy that went 9th overall. So shout out to Landon Gordon. That's pretty incredible. Pretty incredible. He outscored the elite players like Avery and all that. So Landon Gordon's looking really good for the Carolina Hurricanes. All right. So now that that is done, the question is, who are we going to play in the first round? Also, do we call up Dunham to the NHL team for the playoffs, or do we let him just come up next season, make his debut next season? That's going to be an interesting question, because I don't know where we would slot him in right now. Like, we'd have to basically send the enforcer down, which could happen, because that way we're a little bit more disciplined. But we're going to be taking on Utah in the first round. What a surprise. But Larmour's currently injured, I think, still, if I'm not mistaken. So this could be an easier win for us, potentially. But they had 50 wins this season, 50, 30, and 2. So they did not lose a lot of games in extra frame, which is interesting. But let me actually go to injuries here first and take a look and see if Larmour is still out for them. Yeah, he is. He's out with an upper body injury, so it's not a long-term injury, unfortunately. But he will be back this series on the 22nd. It's currently the 15th, the first game, so he will be back for what game? He'll be back for Game 5, I think it is. Let me take a look at this. Yeah, he'll be back for Game 5. He could probably be in the lineup for Game 4, potentially, too, but he's going to miss the first few games at least of the series, which is pretty big for us, considering we know that he's a great goal scorer for that team. So, in terms of the rest of Utah, though, we've played them, I think it was just last season, but let's take a look at them again. First line, Jackson Jacobson. They also have Logan Cooley and Joe Aginla. So, this is the big void here where, obviously, you normally see Larmour. Jacobson has to play on that top line, but obviously, once Larmour returns, all these guys are going to get moved down, basically, and Molson's probably going to get scratched, my guess. Second line has Berehowski, Furcus, and Mitchell. Third line, Carbonneau, Trevica, and Dmitriev. And then you have Molson, Frank, and Gaucher. Defensively, Stevens and Asplund, Matthews and Damsky, Wolzniski, and Buchinger. Yeah, not the strongest defensive core. And then goaltending, Devin Tanguay. I feel like this guy wasn't there last year when we played them. He was in Buffalo. All right. So Utah has a new goaltender, huh? Interesting, okay. And then there's also Tuomas Hentunen, who I think was their starter last year when we played them, right? Yeah, I think he was. Maybe? I honestly don't remember. I feel like I recognized him now. From a scratch standpoint, there's Larmour, who's obviously injured. Are we glad that he's injured? Of course, but I don't know if our team's going to necessarily take advantage of the fact that he's going to be injured. But yeah, Larmour's a very, very good player. One of the better players in this entire franchise mode. So, all with the Utah Hockey Club. I don't think he's ever won a Stanley Cup, but at this point in his career, he's won 2 Richards. He's just a very good goal scorer, so hopefully we could win games without him in the lineup. And then Aiden Kambitz is there as a depth option, not really much of anything. And also Semu Heikkila probably. So, not the strongest depth options. Obviously, I think Molson would be scratched or Gaucher would be scratched once Larmour returns to the lineup, but hopefully we don't have to see him for a while, and hopefully once he does return, he doesn't make a huge impact on this series. But anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of our Albuquerque Aliens Draft to Glory franchise mode. So in next episode, we'll take it to the first round of the playoffs against the Utah Hockey Club as we look to build off a pretty good regular season. And yeah, hopefully we can find ourselves again in maybe at least a conference finals appearance. The coach did say we could probably win the Stanley Cup this year. So obviously a conference finals or a cup finals is the goal of the season. But who knows what's going to happen with this engine. It could literally give us a first round exit, and I wouldn't be surprised. So I think down below, and I'll see you guys next time.